Good morning, Rumbler Pod. We are back. It's your boys, Spencer and Ryan, here again. You can see things are a little different, folks. We got some new duds. Credit to our boy Ryan over there, super producer
Oh,
Ryan
thank you.
Crist.
Thank you.
He's making it happen. We got a new setup for you guys. Got a great show lined up for y'all. This was a incredible week of football. Really entertaining stuff going on. We even pulled together some clips for you guys today. So we're moving up in the world. But Ryan, tell me how you been, man.
Oh man, been busy. Yeah, it's been a busy week. It's been a really good week of football. So I figure, why don't we just give the pod a little facelift? We've been doing this for a while now. This is our God, Spencer. Can you believe it's our 14th episode already? So this is our
14.
our 14th episode. So I figure why not? Let's just give it a little facelift. Let's try something new, and we're gonna try some new stuff here today that I'm really excited about. Got a lot of really cool stuff lined up for you, and yeah, we're gonna try a little bit of a different format as well. We're gonna focus a little bit more on some key games that we were interested in throughout the weekend. But yeah, I'm really excited for what we've got lined up, and I'm excited for the new look. Hopefully, everybody likes it. Please, feel free to let us know what you think. But yeah, we've got a really exciting show lined up, Spencer. I'm very excited to get down and talk some football in our brand new chassis.
Oh, I'm excited, baby. And that being said, I don't see any need to bury the lead here. Let's kick right in. We're going to start off with our brand new segment. We're going to do the news rundown for you guys, some a little bit of funny stuff, a little bit of interesting things about what the future holds this year for the NFL. So let's hop right in.
All right, Spencer, you ended up sending me this one. This is a post that is an apparent quote from the Colts wide receiver Michael Pittman, who is having a massive year, massive year um, over there in Indianapolis. And yeah, just for everybody that might be listening instead of watching, it's apparently Michael Pittman Jr. was frustrated after only having 2 catches in Sunday's game versus the Browns, and was quoted as saying, "They just didn't target me today for whatever reason. Maybe I'm not a big part of the offense." What do you think
Right.
about this, Spencer? You sent this to me. You said you had some takes on this. I'm really curious to see what you think.
Right. I sent you this because I saw it and as someone who watched the entire Colts game's victory, he had a massive catch and run that we will show you when we get to the full on breakdown of that game. But my overall take is this, Ryan. I understand receivers, they have this whole mentality of like, I have to be involved. This is the only way the offense can succeed. But that being said, like, you know, Gardner Minshew is balling out right now. He's not playing scared at all. This is something I've talked about a lot in the past with backup quarterbacks that I want you to come in, play your game, don't limit the offense, play as if you're the starter, right? And Gardner Minshew has not shied away from attacking downfield, um, making risky throws, escaping pressure. I mean, he's been incredible, and we'll get to that with the game. But more so, my thought was looking at this. I'm like, your team puts up 38 points against probably the best entire of the entire league, the best defense in the league right now against the Cleveland Browns. Um, I will get into that a little bit more, but they didn't play really up to that
Right.
standard in this game. I would say they made a shit ton of plays, even so. But my kind of overall take with this was looking at is like if your team puts up 38 points and
Right.
you have a deep bomb touchdown that you take all the way to the crib, like I don't like this from Michael Pittman. I don't like getting into the media and talking about, well, maybe I'm just not valued. Maybe I'm not a big part of the offense. It's like, come on, man.
Right.
I look at it the same way. You remember a few weeks ago the AJ
Poor me.
Brown kind of blow up on the sideline when they were winning the game by like multiple scores in Philly. Yeah, I liken it to that a little bit. Now AJ cooled down, didn't take it to the media
Hmm.
space, and I respect him for that. And I love AJ Brown. I'm not trashing the guy. And the thing was, Ryan, with Pittman in this game, when they did go to him, he did great. He got that long completion. I agree he could have seen more targets in this game, but it was pretty obvious to me that Shane Steichen knew where he wanted to go with the football. Um, we'll get into that a little more. I don't want to draw out the point too much, but Josh Downs had himself a really good game. Alec Pierce Alec
Yes,
Pierce had
indeed.
a few nice
Happy to see that.
not touchdowns, sorry, receptions on some deep targets as well. And I think the thing at the end of the day, if I could talk to Michael Pittman, I don't know if this would comfort him much, but at the end of the day, you're that guy, man. You're drawing all the double teams. Maybe the reason you didn't get the ball much this game was because you were drawing so much attention that these other guys were getting open and being able to make plays. And I don't know. We'll see where it goes from here. But I didn't like the whole bringing it into the media thing. So
No, 100%. And I mean, we'll get more into it, but this is a defense that clearly has had no trouble taking away number one options in the past, and he seems very surprised that he was an option that was able to be taken away by a premier defense in the NFL. So a little bit bizarre to me, but we'll get more into the Colts and Browns a little bit later on the show. I've got another little piece of news here, a couple of tweets from Stephon Diggs that shows, in my opinion, that he really is one of us. He's not ultimately somebody that is just so unlike you and I. He has a couple of tweets here where he says, boys, I'm not going to lie, I feel a little bit bad when I screw up your bets or for fantasy. But to be clear, it's not because that he's trying to hit that for you. He's not trying to hit your bet, but he does recognize that we're out here, that we're depending on his performance in some regard for either pride or money. I just wanted to include these. I thought this was pretty funny. He tweeted those a little bit earlier.
Well, yeah,
today.
He says, but trust me, it ain't because I'm not trying to make that hit for you. So, right. I would go off your point, like, as a fantasy player, not a sports bettor, just because I don't have that kind of expendable income, of course. But I always
until you
sometimes
start,
it rubs me the wrong way when players say, like, I don't care about your fantasy team, I don't care about your parlay. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's like
I understand the sentiment.
I mean, if somebody like really took money out of their own wallet to bet on your success, like, I realize what you owe is your performance to your brothers out there, your teammates, the guys that you put in the work with. And if you play your best, then you can live with that, right? Even if the production isn't there. But that being said, there's some validity to, like, if somebody like is that, even if they're not a fan of the team you're on, they're clearly a fan of you if they're willing to put money on you, or that, they think you're good at your job.
Certainly.
So I don't know. It's kind of a nuanced thing. At the end of the day, if I were a coach, though, I will say, like, I don't want any of my players giving a single shit about fantasy. That's why I love Arthur Smith so much. You know that. He doesn't care at all.
I hate Arthur Smith personally.
Yeah.
I can't stand.
Well, the role of the coach is different from the role of the player, right? The player needs to. They're going out there. They want to put up as many numbers as they possibly can, and that's the right mentality to have. But as a coach,
I'm just saying, if my boy Bijan was feeling a little down under, maybe let him stay home. Give him a little sick day, and then most importantly, just let me know. You just gotta let me know, and then I don't start him, and then get humiliated.
Yeah, I had Bijan in my other league.
Just let me know.
That was tough. All right.
Well, Spencer, I think with that, why don't we go ahead and get down to it? What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it. We're gonna start off with the Dolphins Eagles. I feel like this was the game of the week, hands down.
Oh, Spencer, how about real quick we roll this intro? What do you think? For remotely live.
Oh man, we didn't even roll the intro yet. What are we thinking?
That's all right. Let's get this popping.
We gotta go big or go home. We're down to the gold. Never been a better time to put it all on the line. Ooh, yeah. Time to put it all on the line.
All right.
And we're back.
Look at that.
So,
running remotely in the 22nd century. Can you even believe it? Can you even believe it?
We kind of flubbed. It's okay. Folks, we're still getting our bearings here with this this new format, but hope you enjoyed our intro. Sometimes I'm not going to lie to you, Ryan. I just I sit in my bed and I don't watch the whole episode back. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes I'll just pull up our intro and listen to it and just jam out because
Yeah, props to my dad for that. He edited and put that together for us entirely on his own. Gave him some clips and he hit us with a banger. You love to see it,
bro. It totally defines the energy of this pod and then the Rumbler Nation as a whole.
Agreed.
So you love to see it. But as I was saying before our intro, we're gonna go ahead and transition here into Philadelphia, Miami. Again, I believe this was the game of the week. I was
without a doubt.
I was so hyped to watch this game. Like it's very rare for me, Ryan, that I get as excited to watch a game between two teams that I have no vested interest in to the same level of when I watch a Seahawks game. But like that was where I was at with this game. Right. I was so excited to see these explosive offenses going against each other. Two really good defenses
in prime time.
In prime time. I mean, can it get better than that? It really can't.
At beautiful Lincoln Financial Field, yeah, it's what an atmosphere.
Absolutely. And you know what? I would say they did deliver on a pretty entertaining game right here. It was a little more one-sided than I think maybe most people expected, but that being said, the box score here, Ryan, to me doesn't really tell the whole story of the game. There was definitely a back and forth element to this one early on until Philly kind of took the reins and ran away with it at the end there. But yeah, Ryan, why don't you kick us off? Like, were there anything that stood out to you on this game statistically with player performance or anything like that?
One thing I just want to say is that I love Nick Sirianni coming out here with the energy, my man. There was a couple of big plays where he was running down the sideline. He had his eagle wings flying, just really flexing in the face. Because in my opinion, we've talked a lot about Miami in these episodes leading up to this. And I think that, you and I have had discussions in private where I truly believe that the Dolphins are one of the premier Super Bowl contenders this year. So for Nick Sirianni to get a huge win at home, granted, but still a huge win in prime time against one of the most explosive offenses we've seen in a really long time, for him to bring that kind of energy running into the tunnel with all the players, really just love to see the energy this guy brings to the game. And yeah, you said it best. The box score doesn't tell the whole story. It was pretty back and forth there for a while, but ultimately, near the third quarters where things started to really to really stall here for Miami. They did have AJ Brown really begin to take over in the last half of the game. I would say maybe that's something that Sirianni talked about in the locker room. Let's get the ball to our playmakers. Let's force the ball down the field a little bit. Let's test them. Let's see what they got. They are an explosive team. They're a very good team. But let's really push the boundary here, and let's step it up. We're a Super Bowl contender ourselves on the NFC side of the conferences, and let's just let's throw it down their throat and see what happens. Tua had not a stellar game, statistically speaking. 23 for 32 for 216, and one each for the touchdowns and interceptions. But I think really the story to me is just how insanely good that Eagles defensive line is, because if there's one thing that Miami has proven up to this point is that they can run the ball whenever they feel like it, and they are going to get big chunk plays, and some of those lightning fast running backs, they're going to run downhill and they're going to crank runs off of you, and that's just going to build their momentum, right? Their whole defense, their whole offense, despite the fact that most of the highlight reels that everybody sees are massive plays down the line for Tyreek, or maybe Tyreek ripping one for 70 just off a little crosser down the middle of the field. I really think the name of the game for this Miami team has been balance up to this point, and they really just were not able to get it done on the ground. Taking a look at the box score here, they had Raheem Mostert carry the ball only 9 times in the game. He ran for 45 yards, still had a very good average. But this was clearly something that they had abandoned at a certain point in the game. Started throwing the ball a lot. Tyreek Hill reined in 11 catches for 88 yards and the tutty. Jalen Waddle hauled in 6 catches for 63 yards, high averages for both. And Cedric Wilson had himself some really nice moments in this game as well, catching some pretty passes from Mr. Tagovailoa. And also, I want to say that the Miami defense is no slouch either. This is clearly a defense that is able to keep points off the board, and the Eagles were just really able to play complementary football, and really at the half, they were able to really take the reins and start to run away with this one.
Yeah, I mean, the Miami front seven is definitely the strength. I think we talked about prior episodes about how there is a legitimate weakness here on the Miami secondary side of things, specifically at their corner spot. I would mention too, Waddle, he could have had a better game against a relatively exploitable Philly secondary on that other side of the ball as well. There's a big reason why they just did the big blockbuster trade for Kevin Byard from the Titans. They desperately needed safety help, which I found surprising because you guys all know how high I was on Sidney Brown and some of the other young guys they brought in to fill out the depth in that position. But you can't argue with Kevin Byard. He's an all-pro level player. He's going to be a tremendous fit in this Philly secondary alongside Slay and Bradbury, who, Bradbury got a few times in this game, but overall, besides the big plays where you're giving it up to Tyreek, it's like,
to Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, right? Like to some of the fastest guys in the NFL.
And, yeah, but all in all, Bradbury's been pretty good in his return. Slay has been very, very good despite all of the issues they've had going on with the safety help behind them. The one thing I point out though with the Miami secondary, going back to it, is they had to come into this game starting Eli Apple and Kohu on the other side, and that's just it's a bad formula when you're going against duo and Devonta Smith and AJ Brown. Julio didn't even need to play in this game barely. I don't even think he hardly saw the field.
Well, they couldn't get the Walker on the field.
Right. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you though. I like Julio's fit as the 3. He's gonna come in fresh. I think it's a big need for them considering Quez Watkins looks like he may miss a majority of the rest of the season. That's a guy that they do rely on in some facet, although they like to involve Dallas Goedert as really more their third receiving option. So they're really not asking Julio to do a lot. And he is, as we know, he's such an excellent receiver in all facets of his game that they can really ask him to do whatever they need him to do, and he's going to do it at a high level. But going back to, AJ Brown, this is his fifth straight game with over 150 receiving yards. That ties a NFL record, ties Megatron Calvin Johnson for most consecutive games with 150 plus yards. If you had, who do you think you are? He is. He's him. And at the end of the day, AJ Brown, if you had any questions about the level of play he's putting out there for Philly, I know he had a slow start. I know it was the Devonta Smith show early this season, but AJ Brown is taking control. And for all you fantasy owners out there, I bet you're licking your chops at the proposition of him getting to play the Commanders secondary next week.
Yeah, 100%. This is just a guy that he really has the ability. He's one of those stars that has the ability to just completely take over games. I think there are plenty of receivers in the NFL where you can ask them, 2 or 3 times a game, like, hey, we really need you to go out here. We need you to make a play. Everybody in the stadium knows where it's going. And, those guys 2 or 3 times a game, they can go out there and they can make a big play. I'm thinking of the CeeDee Lambs of the world, right? And then there are guys like A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs, that if you ask them to do it, 10, 11 times in a game, a majority of the time, they're going to make that happen for you. And he is just continuing to prove that he is one of the premier talents in the league for a very.
And let's get right into it. Let's watch some clips of what A.J. Brown was able to put on film this week against Miami.
All right, let's get down to it. All right, Spencer, we've got another phenomenal feature of our new and improved updated tech here. We have some game footage for you all. We've got some clips, and we are very excited for this possibility. This is something that we've always talked about being able to do, is to be able to let's just put on some game film and let's take a look at what's going on the field. For those of you that are listening, we do now have a new feature where we're able to show some clips here on the pod. Come check us out on YouTube, and you'll be able to see us break down these clips live. But why don't we take a look, Spencer? You want me to just play this through one time? We can kind of talk through your thoughts here.
So here they're going 3 wide. You see they got somebody chip blocking with the running back underneath.
Into double coverage. My goodness.
Burns the corner. That's Kohu on the outside.
My goodness.
He got a little bit of safety help coming across the field, and it just wasn't enough, Ryan. This is the kind of stuff that A.J. Brown puts on
just
field,
is not
on
enough.
film every week.
I mean, especially because when you've got, an O-line like the Eagles do, when you got all the time in the world to let the play develop with an arm and accuracy like Jalen Hurts does, I mean, this is the result you're going to get. Right on the money, right in the breadbasket, right up the seam between two different defenders here.
And not only that, Ryan, look at Jalen Hurts, the absolute lick he takes to get this ball off.
Without a doubt. I mean, yeah, they're only pressuring 3. They have this sort of they've got the will here, sort of in this delayed little look here. I mean, kind of a very lackluster chip here. I mean, the chip misses almost entirely, and giving a free runner to Hurts, but he still puts that thing on the money right between 2 defenders.
Absolutely, Ryan. It doesn't get better than that.
This is just as good as it gets. They do this a lot in practice where they'll have a red line up the sideline there between the numbers and the sideline, where you can maybe like float it a little more. In fact, maybe just on practice fields you'll have a lot of they'll have a line here, and where you can sort of leak it out to this side of the field if you need to. So if this ball needs to maybe come over here somewhere a little bit more, it certainly can. But Hurts decides to do something else here. He just has the arm strength to instead of this red line to leak the pass out this way. What ends up actually getting completed is just right down the middle on this on the street
just
here.
Splits the DBs perfectly. And this is kind of
you just love to see
what it comes down to is we talk all the time, Ryan. We talked last week about Calvin Ridley and Lawrence, and how I was desperately wanting to see that elite connection form and be a weekly threat. And this is, at the end of the day, when you face teams as quality as the Miami Dolphins, these type of late playoff contenders that you're going to have to be playing in these late playoff scenarios, right? You're going to need some kind of connection that's world beating. Just, the 2 guys who have that connection, have that chemistry, can get it done in the biggest moments. And I see just nothing but that from this duo right here.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, just phenomenal blocking up front. If the chip was a little better, Spencer, if this play had maybe a second or 2 to develop more, I mean, look at the break that he has here. If Hurts maybe has half a second longer, that safety is already behind on this play. He's already 4 or 5 steps behind him on this play. This could be a touchdown if that chip is hit and the throw isn't rushed. If this is with a rush throw, pressure in your face, big time moment. I mean, look at this man. My God.
He's a scary motherfucker. And those uniforms with the black visor, I mean, does it look clean, nicer than that on the football field? Goodness. My goodness.
Goodness.
Yeah, Ryan, let's transition to this next clip. We're not done looking at A.J. Brown in this game.
All right. Yeah, so we've got another big play here from A.J. Brown. Got him up at the top there. Just a little hitch. Let's run this back one more time. Obviously playing off, it's an easy completion already, right? But this is what makes A.J. Brown special, is that he is just so big and so fast that he can turn a little, easy completion hitch into 6. Just because, I mean, my God, how do you tackle this man?
And once again, they have him dead to rights, Ryan. They've got corner putting a hit on him. They sandwich him between the safety and the corner there as they come down. It doesn't matter. He's too strong. He's too physical.
It's even a line. Yeah, it's a corner and a linebacker even. Those are no slouches when it comes to making a tackle, and it's just it's just too easy. Sorry, let's go forward here a little bit more. As a pass comes in, Yeah, completely sandwiched. Little, maybe some poor tackling here on the side of Miami, which was kind of thematic throughout the entire second half, if you want my opinion about it. But yeah, just sheds those too easy. That's just easy 6.
That's a bad man.
That is indeed a bad man. Yeah, it's really interesting that they're even pressing up, right? Like you see the linebacker that ultimately does go out to try to make the play on Diggs, or excuse me, on AJ Brown. He shows pressure here at the beginning to maybe even trying to bait some sort of like maybe if they're thinking of taking this easy completion, maybe if they try to change the play to a slant, even like if he's baiting this, right, putting up pressure, and then he kind of drops back a little bit trying to bait that. But even then, just a little hitch, and yeah, that's a house call. You can't tackle that guy.
No sir. Yeah, good clips.
Yeah, really phenomenal stuff from AJ Brown.
But anywho, I don't know if I have any real additional thoughts for the Eagles game. I did want to address that Byard acquisition because I think that's huge. It's kind of
100%.
unbelievable that they continue to compile this level of talent. They are just never satisfied, and Howie Roseman just continues to do it. So,
gotta love you, Howie. You're doing it for the rest of us. All right, you want to go ahead and transition to the next game here, Spencer? Why don't we talk about this Vikings 49ers game? Took place last evening on Monday Night Football. The Vikings, my goodness, Kirk, a win in primetime, making him 3-10 in his career. In primetime under the big lights on one of the biggest stages, and against one of the better opponents maybe he's ever beaten in Monday Night Football. I mean, we've talked a lot about the 49ers on this podcast already, but leading up to this point, San Francisco looked like one of those teams that was unstoppable. One thing I really wanted to point out was how well I thought the Vikings O-line played against that absolutely disgusting 49ers D-line. Really special. And I mean, if there was ever a time for iced out Kirk to show up, it was now. And he had a very, very nice game here. 35 for 45, 378 yards, 2 touchdowns, did throw a pick, but ultimately I think you're very, very happy with this performance. What are your thoughts on this game, Spencer?
Well, the first thing I wanted to say is, Brian O'Neill, I'm sorry, sir, I was not familiar with your game, apparently, because, Brian O'Neill has been excellent for the Minnesota Vikings up to this point in the season. I think I saw, a PFF stat that they are in the top 5 ranked tackle duos for just overall PFF grade this season, which has been huge because, his running mate, Darisaw, we all know the kind of player he is, really high caliber athlete. Just, Trent Williams-esque in a lot of ways in the style he plays, just a mauler, but very, very good in pass pro as well. And I just was so impressed with that tackle duo, specifically the way that they handled the Niners front seven. They were bringing it to him in the screen game, the run game, made Cam Akers and Madison look like high level running backs rather than just kind of, borderline replacement level that we can kind of know they are. But yeah, that besides, the other player I'd love to shout out is Jordan Addison. Had a monster of a game in this one. Jordan Addison just was torching Diamador Lenore and my favorite NFL corner, Charvarius Ward, all game those guys were getting torched, frankly. It was unbelievable what Addison was able to do out there. We forget how early he is in his young career, to come out against that kind of opponent and just have some ballsy catches. We didn't grab a clip of this one, but I don't know if you recall, Ryan, he had a play where Charvarius Ward was in his back pocket coming across the middle of the field on a kind of a deep post. Charvarius Ward was step for step with him. Kirk puts it kind of not the best ball, to be honest. It was a little behind Addison, so he had to kind of fight with Ward, who was already in position to make the play, wrenches it out of his hands and takes it to the house. Yeah, Jordan
House
Addison
call.
is a phenomenal player. That's one of my favorite calls that I made, I think, this offseason when we were doing our divisional breakdown content. He is a legitimate deep threat, and to be doing this in the absence of Jefferson, again, against an opponent of this quality, I think it does illustrate my point that for the 49ers defense, this is where you attack them. This secondary is their weakness. This is where you can get points on the board against them, but that does not do anything to downplay how dominant of a performance he put up. So
that's right. They are exactly who we thought they were. They're and also, you've been very public about your criticisms of Brock Purdy, and I think that there are plenty to be made, throughout last week and this week. He does bleed after going, I believe it was 9 or 10-0 to start his career. Now has dropped 2 in a row, threw 2 picks in this game. So really, just major kudos to the Vikings here. You really showed up and put a hurting on perhaps the best team on paper in the NFL. Even got 2 picks off Brock Purdy. Shout out to Cameron Bynum. Massive game. 7 tackles and 2 picks on the day. They did only record 1 sack, but I mean it is the 49ers O-line. So shout out Danielle Hunter. Everybody knows your game.
Yeah, Danielle Hunter is just a monster,
putting it to him yet again. Yeah, Jordan Addison, 7 catches, 123 yards, and 2 tutties. Jefferson, who?
Yeah, well, he's gonna. I mean, I talked about it with all the attention that Jefferson garners. It may be a blessing in disguise, honestly, that Jefferson's going to miss a bit of time, because I don't think any of us thought that they were really going to be a legit deep playoff candidate anyway. Getting all this extra time for Addison to develop and be leaned on as the number 1 option in the passing game right now is clearly doing wonders for his development. And you can only imagine when Jefferson returns and he's rolling. These guys could be rivaling the Kupp Puka Nacua duo that's putting up insane numbers right now between the two of them. It's definitely possible. But going back to the Niners side of the ball, Ryan, I did want to mention, this is what it looks like when you don't have Trent Williams on the field if you're the 49ers. They go this whole game without Trent. What I will say is Christian McCaffrey impressed the hell out of me in this game. I know the numbers aren't astonishing, but when you combine his receiving yards with his rushing, he did get to 100, scored twice. Considering their deficiencies, they're down Debo, they're down Trent, so the run game you think would suffer a little bit, but as we know, Christian McCaffrey just overcomes and continues to overcome. He was electric 100%. In this game, had a few big plays, was running hard, like you always say, Ryan, was just running through people on the sidelines. Yeah, at the end of the day, though, I look to it without Debo Samuel. We talked about it last week with Cameron. I know you weren't there, but I'm pretty sure you watched it, where you're missing your instant separators with Debo, and I thought they may be missing McCaffrey in this game. It really shows the level of a player that McCaffrey is, that he can just make it not even matter that Debo wasn't out there. I know they missed Debo for sure. It's a big part of why they lost this game. He's another one of those easy reads, easy completions that it creates for Brock Purdy. But yeah, truthfully, Brock Purdy struggled in this game, and I think it kind of exemplifies. He only had, truthfully, like 2 deep completions, and I believe they were both to Brandon Ayuk. Once again, wide open, deep posts where it's just pure route running. Credit to Purdy, right. He put an accurate ball on him, but they struggled getting the ball downfield if it wasn't McCaffrey ripping off a big run or a big catch for extra yardage. And I think we're starting to get a peek into the real Brock Purdy, what he truly is as a quarterback when you ask him to carry the load a little more, and he doesn't have that same elite surrounding talent. Yeah, they need Trent Williams back in a big way.
100%. And, despite that, a lot of people would say that, there's a lot of safety blankets that Purdy has had through his career thus far, which is certainly true. Do you want to just give him a little bit of credit here? I mean, he was able to spread the ball around. 5 catches each for Kittle, Ayuk, and Jawan Jennings. McCaffrey only reined in 3 catches, but still racked up 51 yards and a touchdown. But yeah, you can clearly see, when the protection just isn't as good as it usually is, or when he's missing, maybe that other X weapon where middle of the field is just wide open, completely naked, and you put the ball on the money and, 60-yard play rips down the field. It's more of a challenge for him. I mean, as many have speculated and as we have suspected. But yeah, we really love to see it.
And I would
really...
like to give him credit, Ryan, but to go push back a little bit, you somewhat. We talked about last week the Browns defense. That was a really tough matchup to be missing the players he was missing
right.
to try and play well against them. I was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, even though I did see some signs that there was that regression occurring a little bit, or we were seeing the more realistic image of him as a player. This is a highly exploitable Minnesota secondary. They've been putrid all season long. And at the end of the day, turning the ball over in those big moments where he did turn the ball over, where he attacked downfield. Bynum had both of those interceptions on deep throws down the field, or like an intermediate to deep one, I think was the second one. But yeah, at the end of the day, like, you put up nearly 300 yards, scored once, but McCaffrey was doing a ton of that work for you, and you threw 2 interceptions to end up losing the game. So I would push back a little bit. I think he deserves credit for playing well considering the adversity, but I wouldn't say today was a standard of performance that he would hold himself to, and I'm sure he'd agree.
Oh, certainly not. We do have some clips from the Vikings game. If you wanted to run those, we certainly can. If you want to move on, we can also move on.
No, totally, I think we're good. I want to check these out because I was really impressed with how the tackles played. Brian O'Neill and Darisaw, they were really getting active on a couple of screen plays, and I wanted to point that out.
All right, yeah, we have a couple of plays here that we wanted to point out to everybody. Spencer and you and I talked a little bit about before the podcast started. What the Vikings were able to do in the screen game here in this game was very creative, very nicely done. It's not something that we typically see out of this offense. There was even one to Hawkinson that we're going to show you guys as well. But this one with their newly acquired running back Cam Akers, let's just run it. Yeah, great blocking downfield. It's just a great way to generate space. And is it just me, Spencer, or does Cam Akers look like a completely different running back on this team than the way he was running when he was with Los Angeles?
I do think so, quite a bit. I think it's probably just a better fit for his skill set. I think they're using his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield a little bit more. He had some nice little stretches of play with the Rams, but I think a big part of this is a bit of a confidence thing, Ryan. The Vikings seem to believe in him, and they took a chance on him. They gave up assets to bring him in. And yeah, you see, these linemen, they're getting active out on the perimeter, getting their good pulls. The thing that stood out to me on the screenplays here, Ryan, was that, their initial hit on the D line is solid. They get a really nice pop off the line of scrimmage to kind of get those defenders pushed off the ball a little bit initially. And then they do that perfect slip and pull to start getting downfield. But that's important because, it gives Kirk just enough time to get the ball off in this situation. You see defenders flying at him as he throws it there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just really phenomenal play calling by Kevin O'Connell, I think, too. I mean, take a look at these guys. You've got this, you got the safety creeping down here near the beginning of the play, and you've got this other linebacker here as well. That's, they're bringing the heat. Look at that. Both of them completely untouched as the 2 linemen here and here are pulling. And one thing I wanted to point out as well is that, look how off guard, Bosa right here. Look how off guard he looks as we run the play. Like, oh, there we go. Like right here, I think is the moment where he was just like, we got. And it's a big play. I mean, when the safety's being brought down like that, then, the entire back end of the field is just completely wide open. Like they're lucky this wasn't a touchdown.
They did a great job in this game. That's something that stood out to me, was getting the ball away from Bosa. And I think that's a big part of what you said about play calling, using the 49ers aggression on defense against them. And
Yep.
plays like this, you get downfield, you get blockers in the way of your back in space like this. It's a great way to keep the terrifying, violent hands of guys like Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw away from your running back, prevent fumbles as well. I have to say, Kevin McConnell really did a great job in this game to come away with the victory.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more. There's another clip that we want to show you all here. By the way, I'll cut this. I'm not going to stop recording. I'm just going to go to the next clip, and then I can cut it.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got the next clip here. This is a screen to the big boy. Give him the hawk. Look at him getting out in space, making a miss. Really nicely done. I mean, talk about unique play calling. I can't remember the last time I've seen a backfield screen with a tight end.
That's what I'm saying. Not a super big play, but I mean, look at Big Darisaw getting out there in space, putting the hurt on these guys. A lot has been said about that interior offensive line for the Vikings, but Dalton Reisner was the late pickup here too, and he's getting involved downfield as well. Just really love the way that the Vikings, despite their deficiencies on that interior offensive line, they lean on their strengths. They get their tackles involved in plays like this, where that kind of mobility and athleticism to get in the right position at a quick, nice speed, and then get downfield, that utilizes their strengths more than it does their weaknesses. And I think for so long we saw the Vikings try to be that stand in the pocket, fire downfield type of team, and never had the offensive line talent to make it happen.
100%. And I mean, take a look at the situation, right? I mean, it's second quarter. It's, just the beginning of the second quarter. They're down by the Niners are down by a touchdown. And I loved what you said earlier about using the aggression of the 49ers defense against them. I mean, just let me find a moment here. So, off the ball, these three guys right here, the interior and then Nick Bosa off the edge, they are firing off of it. And look, they penetrate deep into the backfield. And, once Hawkinson actually catches this ball, let me find a good spot for it. He catches this ball, and Spencer, my God, look at all of that green space. There's only one backer that's here to prevent it from going anywhere.
Exactly. And the Niners
just big overcommitments.
Yes. Yeah, the Niners are coming out here ready to attack Kirk Cousins. It's prime time. They know what he does when he's they know what he usually does when he's under duress. I don't blame them at all for wanting to get active and get after him, but they definitely, I think the Vikings saw that coming and planned for it in a big way. And the last thing I'd say, now that we've cut away from the clip, but Christian Darisaw, he's not allowed a single sack all season coming into this game against the Niners. He is really, really distancing himself as a top end prospect and a top end, just straight up starting tackle in this league right now. He is a huge part of what's keeping the Minnesota even relevant as they go forward. I know they were a 2-4 football team coming into this game, but I would say the future is bright with Minnesota. They've got two excellent starting weapons with the young Addison. We know what Justin Jefferson's capable of, and now you've got this excellent tackle duo in O'Neal and Darisaw. All that's left to do to me is find the quarterback and fill in the rest of that depth, fill in that offensive line on the interior, and they can go places, Ryan.
Yeah, I completely agree 100%. All right, Spencer, I think that's a good spot here. Why don't we transition a little bit here, and we can talk about your team in a NFC West matchup. We have the Seahawks going up against the Arizona Cardinals. And Spencer, you and I talked the other day, and I think I was telling you that this Cardinals team, I think, at the time they were 1-5, but now they're 1-6. This is maybe the best 1-6 team I've ever seen. Like, this is a team that just plays with a lot of grit. I really got to give it up to their head coach. There was a lot heading into the season about, maybe he was maybe more of a corny guy than people had expected and Jonathan Gannon. But clearly this is a squad that believes in him. They go out there, they put it all on the line, but there's just not enough that's getting done on the field to convert those into wins. Despite upsetting the Cowboys, which is so funny. That's a huge win, and I think a lot of this also can be attributed to the phenomenal season that that Joshua Dobbs is having. Struggled in this game against the defense, but I think playing up to this point, he's having a really nice season. He's proving that he belongs on an NFL roster. He deserves a shot. And this is a guy that goes out there and he plays with his heart on the line, and he's going to do everything he can to go out there and win the game for you. What are your thoughts, Spencer? I know that you probably watched this one pretty closely.
Yeah, I mean, well, I would say, first and foremost, the Seahawks offensive struggles kind of continue to some degree. Although what I will say is they really found something in terms of their identity in this game, I would say, right? Is that when they need to go to that ground and pound, kind of, run the more 3 tight end sets more often, and just get the run game involved as the base of the offense, they can go to that still. I know they've done a lot of experimenting this season with running the 3 receiver sets more often. Coming out there in 11 personnel a little bit more, maybe 1 back in the backfield. But when they need to go to their bread and butter, and that was really what made them so dominant for certain stretches of time last season on offense, was when, that run game was cooking. It allowed for those deep shots to Metcalf and Lockett, because you had defenses climbing closer and closer to the line of scrimmage trying to stop that. And in this one, right, that's the first thing you got to mention. 26 carries for Ken Walker, gets 100 yards, healthy 4 yards per carry average. But, again, this has been a massive shuffle on the offensive line. This time around, they come out with their normal backup left tackle playing at right tackle in Stone Forsythe, because Jake Curhan came into this one with a bit of an injury. He held his own okay, but I will say that right tackle spot was still an issue in this game. As we talked about, I think, in our personal discussions on game day, the Cardinals D-line, there are no standout players amongst them, really. Maybe you could say Kaiser White in the front 7 is a nice player. Right. There's a few guys.
He's the only one that comes to mind.
There's a few guys, but at the end of the day, they as a unit play much better than the sum of their parts. And that's 100%. Really where I'd credit Jonathan Gannon. He is getting these guys to play for each other. And they, even though they only managed 10 points, I credit that much more to a highly, highly dominant Seahawks defense right now. They're playing out of their minds on that side of the ball, frankly, kind of bailing out the Seahawks offense for the last couple games. Truth be told, they kept them in that Bengals game, especially. They had shut down Joe Burrow and sacked him a ton nearing the end of that game. But yeah, I think I am not swayed off of my opinion of Seattle as I was prior to the season starting. I do think when they get their offensive line back healthy, fingers crossed, Abe Lucas can get back in there. And I think once you see Abe Lucas and the normal interior offensive line starters gelling together, I think you could see them really come into their own. And the main reason I'd say that is because you're seeing those young contributors that they're leaning on, the rookies, JSN, Bobo, both getting touchdowns in this one. The progression that they want to be seeing from this young core is absolutely coming to fruition on both sides of the ball right now. And it's very encouraging from my perspective.
Yeah, we were just talking about how Addison really might have benefited from, Justin Jefferson being put on IR when you're sort of thrust into the moment when, like, okay, you're the next guy up. This happens all the time in the NFL. Injuries are a very common thing. And, maybe it's one of those things where they're finally starting to get their identity clicking on offense, and they have some young talent that's finally, given opportunities to step up to the plate and become the guy. They really have some young talent to really, really make some impressive plays. The one that we'll go over it is the Jake Bobo touchdown. That might be the catch of the weekend, in my opinion. Believe that Pete Carroll did have to challenge to get that called a touchdown, how close it was. And even on the review, it still looked insanely close. But you ask me, that's a touchdown. Both feet get in there. Just a really phenomenal game here from Seattle. Maybe in some sort of respect, like this is a sort of a coming out party of some sort of like what they were trying to do on offense, right? Geno Smith, he had a very efficient day on the ground or through the air, I would say. 18 for 24 for 219, 2 touchdowns, did throw the pick. They were able to get it done on the ground, had just over 100 yards on the ground. So, overall, just a really balanced offense. They spread the ball around a lot and completions to, 7 different receivers. Just a really efficient day on the ground. And it's nice to see the young guys in Bobo and Smith and Jigba finally get their way into the end zone and get some of that spotlight.
Absolutely. And Geno, in terms of the interception and generally just the red zone efficiency, he's turned the ball over in the red zone quite a bit the last couple weeks. I think that has a large portion to do with the protection issues. He's kind of feeling like he needs to force the ball. He wants to put up points. There's that added pressure of just how well the defense is playing. On top of it, I feel like a majority of the guys on offense feel like we should be winning these games by a far wider margin. But unfortunately,
right.
Those protection issues are leading to some errant throws, some bad decision making. And I would love to see Geno clean that up, because we know with the talent that they're fielding, we were incredibly excited, Ryan, about the proposition of adding JSN to Metcalf and Lockett, but Jake Bobo comes out of absolutely nowhere to become a legit threat in his own right. A guy that may just have, dare I say, superstar level upside himself with the kind of plays that he can make downfield. I'm really interested to see. I don't know if the day is coming that he will get more volume to show what he can do, but we saw what a guy like Puka Nacua can do when thrust into a high volume role where he's depended on early. The kind of similar skill sets between him and Bobo, definitely like prototypical X guys, big body, big frame, can go up for jump balls. And the thing that stands out to me about Bobo, what I'll finish on, is like his attention to detail, man, for an undrafted rookie is unbelievable. His route running is so polished. His game sense, awareness, his run blocking is incredible. That's a big part of why he's even been able to get on the field, is because they'll run him out there on those times where Metcalf and Lockett are having a blow, and he can get active in the run game as well. So yeah, I'm amazed and in awe of what Bobo has been able to accomplish up to this point. I'm really excited about him.
Speaking of Bobo, why don't we just roll the tape?
Roll the tape, Brian. Let's get into it.
All right, Spencer. Let's see here. We're back. We got some more film. I don't know if you guys are sick of it already, but in my opinion, this is one of the coolest things that we've been able to figure out. This is something we have talked about from the very beginning. We really just we can have whatever tape we want, but the films and the highlights, they don't lie.
Absolutely. Who does? I mean, if you're listening to our podcast, of course you want to watch some ball while we're at it. Why not?
Of course. Watch some ball. So Spencer, the first thing that I'm noticing here is, you do have this seems to be some sort of Mabel scheme here. I mean, you got because this is Bobo down here on the bottom, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct? Yeah. So, obviously he's getting pressed up on here. You got the one deep safety, and then this guy's, playing, maybe 5 or 7 yards off, showing 4. And then you got the backers here. Maybe even some sort of like cover 1 or maybe cover 3 Mabel sort of package where you've got, Bobo with the one-on-one there, playing a little bit off on Lockett on the other side of the ball here, which they're going to find out soon that is just massive disrespect. Let's roll the clip here. Hit him with the little shimmy shake, and let's just, oh my goodness, my man.
One hand.
This is just
pins it to his helmet.
This is just stuff you love to see. Look, he knew he caught it. That's the very first thing he did, is he went to that side judge and he's like, "You better be watch that back, because that's a catch."
Yeah, I mean,
Bam, there's one.
And the tap.
And then the tap. Oh, he didn't get the tap in there.
Yeah, they
fully,
pulled.
but this foot does scrape right around there. He does get in the end zone. I think that's a touchdown. And one thing you were saying, Spencer, is about the route polish. One thing I just want to point out here at the bottom of the screen. Oh, so yeah, they do back off, to maybe more of like standard cover 3, just prior to the snap. But look at the little moves down here from Bobo. That little shimmy shake.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like looks like it's almost some sort of like like an out and in, maybe like a sluggo almost, and then take it to the pylon.
And he showed a ton of that in the preseason, where this is what I talk about, the kind of polish you don't see from undrafted rookie free agents, is like the ability to instant separate at the line of scrimmage with just body language alone. Bobo doesn't get 100%. A hand on him till 8 yards down the field, really. But yeah, it also shows, the trust that Gino has in Bobo to give him kind of a risky throw there on the sideline, one that could have certainly been picked off if the defender had a better angle.
Oh, certainly.
But yeah.
And that's the thing, Spencer, is like, the hand fighting down here, right here, through this section of the end zone here, this hand fighting, sets up Bobo to even be able to catch this ball. Because even at, high pointing this ball, look at the coverage on this. This is great coverage. This is NFL level coverage.
Yes. And
he makes
Bobo,
this play.
One hands, clamps the ball in position, gets his first foot down, and then has the wherewithal to track his right foot to the sideline and just drag it just barely, Ryan. Hardly any space at all. No space at all between the green and the white.
Just a little kith.
Just a little kith. Yeah, just that is not undrafted rookie free agent type of playmaking at all, Ryan. And
look at this, man.
When you talk about JSN added into this offense, we know the caliber of player he is. With Bobo as that fourth offensive threat out there, if he can get going and be a weekly factor, I mean, sky's the limit for the Seahawks offense once they are able to protect Gino adequately.
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We've got another clip for you all from this game, from the other side of the ball, from another premier talent. We've got a top 5 pick playing like a top 5 pick here, Spencer, in the same quarter, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, let's run this clip. You know what this reminds me of? Oh my goodness. Do you know what this reminds me of? You know how everybody has seen the
bang.
Oh my God, decleated. The same compilation of NFL big hits where it's got the Here Comes the Boom soundtrack on it. This would be on here if this clip was 10 years older. That is just an insane level play from the rookie after having a massive week in New York, just continuing to become a star. And this is the type of play that can really just like elevate what the team is willing to do. When you've got people making plays like this, I mean, you've got headhunters and you've got undrafted free agents making those types of plays. You just really love to see it. I mean, you're a big Witherspoon fan, so what are your thoughts on this?
Absolutely.
Hit here,
what I
Spencer?
will say, Ryan, is he wasn't the only one out smacking people in this game. I mean, Jordan Brooks had
right.
a few massive hits in this game. Jamal Adams is always good for a nice TFL where he puts the boom on somebody. I will say, like, credit to Rondale Moore for holding on to the ball after that one.
No,
look at his legs splay up. I mean, you don't get hit harder than that in the NFL, and to hold on to the ball in that situation, credit to him. I know there are a lot of people in the comments saying, well, it's still a first down, good catch by Moore. But what I will say about plays like this is, even though it's a first down and it's not a drive ender, it's not a turnover creator, Ryan, but likening back to the prime days of the Legion of Boom, hits like that from Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor, those were momentum changing plays where it put the fear of God 100%. In every single receiver on the offense when they see that get done. And even though it's a first down, I will say I haven't been this excited about a secondary from Seattle in a very, very long time, probably since 2012.
Well, and 100%. I mean, like, just thinking like, this it is Josh Dobbs throwing the ball, right? Like, this is an interesting look here. Like, this looks a bit more, a bit to me like cover 2 man. Maybe as we play it off. Yeah, it looks to me like some sort of man coverage. They blitz 4, and you've got just this is a play designed for easy completions, right? Like, this is supposed to be a check down. This little like just a little out, just like right at the sticks there. But what this type of play does is, with a player like Josh Dobbs, despite the fact that he's lined up that Witherspoon's lined up off the ball here, he thinks he's getting an easy completion to the flat. But what really he's doing is he's throwing a ball that could have easily put Rondale Moore in the hospital in hindsight. But what also happens here is that if you can take away the easy completions and the checkdowns and the easy valves to the flats, or easy out routes just right at the sticks, that really can mess with the sort of the rhythm of a type of maybe system quarterback that Josh Dobbs is. At least maybe somebody that's not used to having to put the team on his back to go win a football game. If you take away these flats and these checkdowns with something like this, where something as simple as a few yard completion, take what the defense gives you and move the chains and let's keep it going. If you can turn that into a punishable offense, where you're typically an easy completion can turn into a hospital ball, then you're really going to have some devastating.
Well, and not only the
the
implications of just for Rondale Moore's health on this play. I mean, it's worth noting his health, but I mean, what's the first thought in the mind of Josh Dobbs is like, thank God he held onto that ball, because it's very
No
clear.
doubt.
Rondale Moore makes a football play here. He catches the ball, he turns upfield, and is immediately, destroyed. And that's the kind of impact it has. Even though it wasn't a turnover play, it could have been. And that is something that sticks in the minds of quarterbacks and receivers as the game progresses. Those normal, easy possession catches aren't going to be there as the game progresses. And that's a big impact on a team like this. They're very much trying to play in structure, trying to get Dobbs comfortable, giving him those easy Brock Purdy-esque completions, right? And I couldn't have said better myself. You take those
100%.
away, it throws off the entire rhythm and structure of the offense as a whole.
100%. I mean, even look at the technique here. No helmet to helmet, leading with the shoulder. He hits him right in the chest. It's not like he hit him in the head. This is like there's so many people now that talk about, like, you and I have had discussions about this, where it's like, well, what do you expect the defense to do, right? Like they're just supposed to let passes get caught. Nothing is punishable anymore. This is how you do it. Look at the technique here. This is a nice, just clean NFL level hit that is a deterrent. And when you have players like this in your secondary, making those checkdowns in the flats a deterrent with just clean football that has no chance of getting flagged. I mean, depending, who's reffing this game, it really can do wonders for your defense, especially when you're playing complementary football. And I got to say, big reason that it led to the win.
Somebody call Sean Payton, Ryan. Show Kareem Jackson this film. All right, we need to sit Kareem Jackson down and show him some clean hits, man, because good Lord.
All right, Kareem, let's take a look here. So this no-go, okay? No more head. You can move the head forward. You can move the head forward. But that doesn't mean notice where the head ends up, Kareem. Right there.
Snug
okay.
in his
right in the shoulder.
There. Yeah.
There it is.
Beautiful, beautiful play from Spoon.
You see this, Kareem? You see how it's his back. That's the first thing that hits the turf and not his head. This is what we're going for. Anyway, let's transition back.
All right, Ryan. Yeah, so that's a very nice little breakdown of what was going on over in Seattle this week. But we got to move on here. I would love to talk about, Browns Colts. I have never seen a football game that was so cracked out as this one. I can't imagine a more, I don't think I've ever seen a football game that was this bonkers and wild and unexpected. But if I would have told you, Ryan, we talked about it before, that Gardner Minshew and company go into Cleveland and put 38 on them for the victory in a shootout against PJ Walker, no less. Deshaun Watson didn't even finish the game for the Browns.
Didn't even finish the first quarter.
Hell of a football game here. And once again, like our friend Cameron said last week, we did get to enjoy another football game where we didn't have to watch Deshaun Watson lead the Browns. So
every week that happens is a win, especially when it's a game like this. This was just an absolute insane game. We can take a look at this here. Deshaun Watson, even prior to exiting the game from what appeared to be a concussion. I don't want to make any speculations about what his injury might be, but he kind of got hit, had one of those like whiplashes into the ground, kind of woke up a little woozy. PJ Walker was able to get it done, I suppose. Not a phenomenal game, but 15 for 32, 178, did throw a pick, but Watson also threw a pick in one of those 5 pass attempts. Just flat out, the Colts came to play. They put up 38 points on this phenomenal Cleveland defense. Jerome Ford, who I had the displeasure of playing this week in our fantasy league, ripped off a major touchdown early on in the game, followed by Kareem Hunt punching in a couple as they got it down into the end zone. And that's ultimately, I think, what, PJ Walker was, looking to do, right? Like he had that one phenomenal Hail Mary when he was down there in Carolina. But he's yet to show, in my opinion, that he's a guy that can be a consistent starter. He is a guy that is very, very good in a pinch. And this was a pinch and quite the shootout. Very, very back and forth here. But I just want to say this is one of the best performances by a defensive player, maybe so far of the year, if not going to be the best defensive performance of the year. Myles Garrett, my goodness. We're fans of the Bootleg podcast on this show, and Brett Coldman tweeted and was talking about in their video on this game that Myles Garrett himself accounted for a 14-point swing in this game.
Yeah.
With the strip sack and the blocked field goal that turned into points. Just an absolute monster of a performance. There was nothing that could be done. And they were talking about just his build and just what he brings. He plays like Von Miller, but he's like 4 or 5 inches taller and weighs 40 pounds heavier.
Yeah,
but he moves like Von Miller. How do you stop it?
And Ryan, 2 sacks on the day for Garrett, and both result in strips that are both recovered.
Yes, 2 strip sacks.
Or I think they were both recovered. Regardless, that is, you don't find that kind of game from even the best of Nick Bosa and the best of Micah Parsons. It doesn't just win you the game. And I think it's pretty fair to say that Myles Garrett won this game for the Browns. He created all 100%. Those additional opportunities for the Browns offense to go out there and run the shit out of the ball, score 3 touchdowns on the ground in this one. But Ryan, let me just roll off the stats for the Browns defense in this one. 1 defensive touchdown, 4 sacks on the day, a pick, 4 forced fumbles, 3 of those were recovered, and a blocked kick, which who was that done by? None other than Myles Garrett, jumping over the center of the offensive line and blocking the kick. He is a one-man wrecking crew.
Who do you think you are? I am.
He is him.
He is him.
So unbelievable stuff. And DPOY, unquestioned DPOY right now.
Without a doubt. Yeah, phenomenal game. This was a very, very weird one. I was watching it on Red Zone, so it was just kind of a weird back and forth every time. Scott Hanson, we've got an update here in Cleveland. I'm like, oh my God, what now?
What could it possibly
what could possibly have happened? Really nice here to see that Jonathan Taylor has kind of looked more back to form.
Right. And I it's worth noting the Zach Moss and Jonathan Taylor did both split carries right down the middle in this one.
They
but
did.
Considering the play of Zach Moss and you're bringing Taylor along slowly from his injury, this is exactly the kind of split you want to see. Gardner Minshew actually rushed for a couple touchdowns, but if he hadn't been so active in getting loose, I think Moss and Taylor would have had really, really big games both here. And then the other guy on the Colts side of the ball that we have to mention is, again, Josh Downs coming out with the breakout performance, cementing himself as a top slot in the league already. 5 for 125. That is a 25-yard per catch average, Ryan. You heard that right. And a touchdown. And he showed it all off in this game. I told you a bunch about Josh Downs coming into the season on the Colts breakdown about his uncanny jump ball ability for a guy his size, his crisp route running, very, very consistent hands that he's shown off this season. But yeah, there was one particular play down the middle of the field. It was very late in this game where, it was just a heave, just a fuck it. He's down there somewhere type of throw from Gardner Minshew, and Josh Downs just mossed two DBs to come away with the ball and get them in the red zone there. It was, he caught it on the 5-yard line, Ryan. This kid's nice, and he plays well beyond his stature. It's really, really enticing to see him starting to have the performances he's having, because you think about it, Alec Pierce is a legit outside threat. Michael Pittman is of the caliber of player we know him to be. If Josh Downs can get going and stay that way, that's going to be massive. And, the Colts, I don't want to be the hot take guy. I never want to just throw it out there, but I am ready to say without a shadow of a doubt, they are the best team in this division. Yes.
The Colts?
Under the quarterbacking of Gardner Minshew, I know he takes a lot of risks.
Who had 4 touchdowns
but at the end of the day, those negative plays are far outweighed by the positives that Gardner Minshew brings. Gardner Minshew might just be better than Brock Purdy at this point. We need to see the rest of the season, but this.
Don't you remember Minshew Mania, Spencer?
This guy is a starting NFL quarterback, hands down. And I think beyond this season, when Anthony Richardson comes back, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Minshew get handed a nice little contract by some team looking for that kind of bridge starter. He's going to get his chance after what he's been doing, and I expect him to continue doing what he's been doing.
You know what's really annoying is that I feel like the Saints would be so much better if we had Gardner Minshew rather than Derek Carr. I never expected to be saying that, but I think it's true.
The Olave Minshew connection, that could be lethal, truthfully.
That could be lethal. Instead, we got Happy Feet.
Yeah.
But
no,
anyway.
Ryan, let's jump into the clip though, because just for funsies, it doesn't really lead to much analysis here. But I really want to show the audience this Michael Pittman touchdown.
Yes, let's do it. All right. I know we started the show here off rip with a little quote from Michael Pittman about his frustration about his involvement in this game. But he did have a nice play here, right over the middle of the field, makes a catch, breaks a couple tackles. See ya.
He must have watched a little bit of AJ Brown film today before the game. That's straight out of the AJ Brown bag
himself
there.
a little AJ Brown workshop from Michael Pittman, which by the way is having a career year. I don't know why he's been complaining about the volume that he's been getting, because this to me has been the year where he's like legitimately broken out as a star.
Well, come on, Pitty. Like, you got to be a team player here. You had a big play in this game. I'm sure that a little bit of his post-game comments have to do with the fact that it did result in a loss. I'm sure he's thinking to himself, if I get more targets in this game, we're not losing this game. And at the end of the day, that is the mentality I want my receiver to have. But yeah, look at the sheer athleticism he displays on this. This is no.
Well, this is press.
This is press against one of the best secondaries in the entire NFL, right? I'm pretty sure. Is it not Grant Delpit they have on him in the slot there?
This guy here.
No.
So. He passes him off.
Yeah. So it's kind of
regardless if it was a good play call or if it was blown coverage. Michael Pittman takes advantage of it, and that's
and
a
just
house
as far
call.
as defense,
But
analysis goes, Ryan, like the secondaries in this game played totally out of character. I mean, we expect it from the Colts,
yes,
right, to allow a bunch of downfield plays, but really they didn't allow too much down the field. It was more those like, easy near the line of scrimmage completions that went for extra yardage that got it done for them in the pass game. But the Browns, there were so many busted coverages in this one, and I don't know. I think it came down to the Colts receivers came ready to play, and the Browns got caught lacking a little bit here.
Well, I mean, 100%. I also think, kind of watching this here again is that this is just great play calling against the coverage as well. It seems to me to be some sort of Tampa 2 where, they do have, believe that's Delpit here in the slot, and he dumps him off. He dumps him off to this safety here who is playing up on the ball, but that's, probably because, Delpit's going to go down here and cover the flat. But what ends up happening is that you have, conflicted assignments here with the play because you got the tight end here sort of, maybe giving a little chip and then rolling out. And, just watch what happens with Delpit when, he passes off Pittman here, goes to take away the check down in the flat. But by then I think, look, by the time the ball's in the air, Delpit's turned around. He's like, yeah, that's gone. shouldn't have passed that one off. And, by the time that, it looks like it's some sort of post or maybe some sort of 7 that Pittman's on here, it's already too late. It's already going to be a big completion. But by that point, he's already turning up field, and it's just poor tackling on the defense, on the defense part. Yeah, and Pittman is able to house it. But yeah, just a nice play call here on the conflicting assignments against what appears to be, in my opinion, Tampa 2. I'm sure that there are people that would, disagree with me, or people that would maybe know better than me. But it appears to me to be some sort of assignment conflict with Tampa 2 that just ends up, due to poor tackling, becoming a house call for Michael Pittman, even though he's not happy about it. He is not happy about it.
He's very upset that he scored that long touchdown.
Anyway, yeah, great play from Michael Pittman there. Yeah, that most wild game of the weekend. That one was a very fun watch. Spencer, we were talking a little bit about maybe talking about the standings here. What playoff scenarios might be looking like?
I mean, we're not quite at the halfway point here, but we are nearing the trade deadline, and I think that's important to contextualize where teams sit based on division standings. And this kind of gives us a little bit of guidance on who could be buyers, who could be sellers. And I'd like to just, tie in a little bit of guys that we know to be potentially out there on the market for teams that are looking to buy right now. So looking at standings, we've got AFC East. It's going to be Dolphins at 5-2, Bills 4-3, Jets 3-3, and Patriots at 2-5. I know we were talking a little bit before that I'm sure the Dolphins are kind of feeling real lucky that the Bills managed to drop that game against the Patriots this week. Otherwise, they would have tied them in record. But so far, so good with our prediction of the Dolphins taking this division, Ryan.
Whew. Hot take. Turning out to be a cold take because they're looking good. They're playing really, really good football. And as long as Mike McDaniel's at the helm, which, I saw some stat that they ran motion, pre-snap motion on 87% of their snaps. That if that's not taking the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree to the absolute limit and exposing, defensive matchups that it creates, then it's just a masterclass on Mike McDaniel's part, and I love to see him have success, man. I gotta say, I'm a fan.
Incredible. And then, going over to the AFC West, we've got the Chiefs at 6-1, Raiders at 3-4. Somehow the Raiders are second in this division race.
3-4 in second. And
Chargers at a lowly 2-4. It has been a nightmare scenario opening.
We need to talk about that, right? Like, this is not a roster that should be 2-4. This is a team that just continues to drop games. Yeah. It seems like there are just certain matchups, man, like week to week, where it's just like, I feel like the Chargers are going to drop this one. I can't explain why.
I mean,
And they do.
It used to be that they'd play up to their level of competition, but this year it hasn't been either. It's been just taking L's where you shouldn't be taking L's. And yeah, we talked about it a little bit, me and Cam, like last week, just saying, like, I still feel Kellen Moore has held up his end of the bargain this year. Has got Justin Herbert playing at a high level. Josh Palmer was coming off a great game against the Chiefs. And that Mike Williams loss has not been as major as we would have expected. They've been able to be good on the offensive side of the ball in spurts, but yeah, that defense, I mean, we talked about the Chiefs kind of still trying to find themselves offensively to allow the kind of blowout performance from them. It's just backbreaking, and the Chargers badly needed to take that game. So, and then, to finish it off, Broncos at 2-5, as we know. But transitioning over to AFC North, you got Ravens at 5-2, Steelers at 4-2, Browns at 4-2. This is a very, very tight race for the AFC North right now. Even the Bengals scrapping and clawing their way to 3-3, right?
This is anybody's ball game to me at this
100%.
point still.
And I could see some of these teams being buyers, frankly, Ryan, because everybody in the division is squarely in it.
Right.
Maybe not the Browns, just because they are so strapped from cash for the Deshaun Watson deal, but the Bengals, I could see the Bengals being a team in the mix for some added secondary talent, potentially, even some maybe extra protection for Joe Burrow down the road. And then finishing off AFC South, right? Jags 5-2, distancing themselves. Although I did just say I do believe the Colts to be the best team in this division as we progress. Texans at 3-3. Colts are currently sitting at third at 3-4. But let's remember that was pre-Minshew mania, Ryan. And of course, the Titans, the lowly Titans at 2-4. They are going to be one of the most major sellers of this deadline. You saw them already offload Byard. I'm hearing whispers about Derrick Henry potentially being on the block. So keep an eye on
which should have happened a while ago. In my opinion.
I don't even know what they're going to get for him at this point. But maybe they do it. Keep an eye on those Tajay Spears shares if you're in fantasy this year.
True. And then taking a look here at the NFC. The NFC East Eagles are sitting at a comfy 6-1, despite dropping one to the New York Jets and Zach Wilson. The Cowboys sitting at 4-2, and then you've got the Commanders at 3-4, Giants at 2-5. I gotta say that the Cowboys off to a stronger start, but this is typical. This is what happens every year, because every year is their year. Every year they start, maybe 750, win percentage, but later on in the stretch, they'll drop some games that they shouldn't drop. Probably lose home field advantage. Got to go play somewhere in the playoffs and round one exit. I'm not saying that history repeats itself. I'm saying that it rhymes.
And then something to mention before we transition off the NFC East is the Commanders are going to be another team in sell mode.
Yes,
it's already been reported that they have not opened up any contract discussions with Chase Young or Montez Sweat. That is a very, very large development. Those are two high-end edge players who I'm sure a lot of teams would be looking to give up a pretty penny for either of their services.
Certainly. And then you got the NFC West here. 49ers sitting on top at 5-2, and then the Seahawks right on the heels at 4-2. It's crazy what a difference it can make, just starting 3-2 and then just getting that one more win, right? Just one more W in the win column to sit at a nice comfy 4-2. This very well could be the division, in my opinion, that has two teams going to the playoffs. It very well could see a Seattle Cowboys wild card round, in my opinion. Because I just think that, the Vikings at this point, I think they're going to drop too many games, and then ultimately in the NFC South, things aren't looking so clear. There's not really that many talented teams. I could easily see the NFC West producing the two playoff teams in one division here.
Oh, and think about it too, Ryan. If Seattle was able to steal that game away from the Bengals, a game in which they had 3 red zone opportunities to punch that final touchdown in to take the lead. I mean, if they come away with a victory in
Right.
the Bengals game, we're looking at a tied division between the Niners and the Hawks, and it's fair to say the Niners are currently trending downward. And I would
Right.
say Seattle, as hopefully they add in that additional offensive line talent, I think they're clearly trending upward. So it's an interesting development, to say the least.
Right. Certainly. And then you've got two teams that are playing way above their punching way above their belt than we expected at the beginning of the season when we were doing our breakdowns. I expected fully maybe the Rams and the Cardinals to be the two worst teams in the NFL, but the Rams are sitting 3-4. I think 3 of those 3 wins can be attributed to the absolute breakout of Puka Nacua. Just an absolute stud. He's the real deal, man. We talked about this earlier. He continues to just go out there and do his thing, even with Cooper Kupp returning. If anything, Kupp's return makes him even more dangerous because who do you cover?
Yeah.
Who do you double, right? What option do you take away when you have 2 Cooper Kupps,
Yeah.
basically?
Well, truthfully, Ryan, I think this could be a sneaky sell candidate here in the Rams as they continue to try to acquire assets back, from the fuck them picks era, right?
Right.
But at the end of the day, like, I think you look at the Rams as a team, they've been able to get it done with just the team effort here and there. There's no one standout star beyond really Donald, Stafford, Puka, maybe Kupp as well. But outside of that, I think they are open for business, and they're going to look to the future a little bit more, I would expect.
Yeah, certainly. And then let's take a look here at the NFC North. The Lions sitting on top, really starting to run away with this one, in my opinion. I saw there was a TikTok where somebody said, look at it was from like a Skull fan account, which, sometimes I love to troll them because they have hurt me in the past. It was this guy who's like, if you look at the Viking schedule after this week, it's such an easy schedule. I don't be surprised if this team, ends up 10-6 or 10-7 or 11-6. And I was like, so you're saying they can only beat bad teams, is what you're saying? And they were like, yes, that is what we're saying. So they admitted it, and that was high on their end. But yeah, they're sitting at 3-4. I think the Lions are going to start really pulling away in this one. The Bears and the Packers. I'm surprised at the Packers a little bit with Jordan Love coming out throwing 6 touchdowns and no picks with some very convincing wins in the first 2 weeks of the season. I'm really surprised that they've dropped 4 in a row here.
The defensive coaching is just continuing to rear its head, and
it's the same thing that happened when Rodgers was still there. Like, the defense is just bad scheming, bad coaching. It's just selling. It's just a waste of, potentially good talent on the other side of the ball with Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson, and who knows what Love has. If he can't be put in positions to win, then maybe he isn't the guy to be able to, I will say it correctly, steal victory from the jaws of defeat.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you. And anywho, the next point I'd make is that Packers are obvious sellers at this deadline. Obvious. Especially on the defensive side of the ball. There are some veterans that they can get some nice pick compensation back for. Guys like maybe even a Rashawn Gary. Some of those sneaky guys who fit a little bit better into the Rodgers window, and now that they are going full hog into the Jordan Love era, they have to be one of the teams that's potentially looking to fire sale here at the deadline, potentially.
Right. Yeah, 100%. And moving on here to the NFC South, the 3 teams still in it. Falcons sitting at 4-3, Bucks at 3-3, and the Saints are at 3-4 after a heartbreaking loss to the Jags this week. Everybody was very hard on Foster Moreau initially, but I think we can give him a pass for that one. It's just the next play, all that jazz. But yeah, still a very competitive division. I almost wish that it wasn't, so that the Saints would be in more of a position to sell. I don't know what they were thinking signing Carr to the deal that they did, 4 years for $150 million in the offseason. Because to me, if this was any other division in the NFL, that one that is not where you're sitting at 3-4 and there's still a very good chance you could win the division, then you're a clear sell candidate. Saints are scheduled to be $87 million over the cap next year, which I don't know how that happens. I don't know what type of GMing Mickey Loomis is doing to end up in that type of a hole. But from the cap situation alone, I think maybe puts you in a damn near fire sell. How are you supposed to acquire any more talent if you're $87 million over the cap for a team that is 3-4 in week 7? I don't
thankfully
understand
they
that.
got some assets back for Sean Payton's rights. That's going to be a nice little development for them as we progress. But you can't help but think with the play of Derek Carr and the relatively obvious outcome of him not being a Saint for anywhere close to the entirety of that contract. I expect Dennis Allen to lose his job this offseason, most likely. Although, really, I would give credit to Dennis Allen. He's done a great job with the defense for the Saints.
Oh, defense was great. Yeah, 100%.
At the end of the day, it's not been enough. And they've just given him a lot of time at this point. It's not paying dividends. And yeah, I agree with you, Ryan. I think they could certainly be a sell candidate here, considering they're looking to potentially blow it all up at this point.
Well, and I mean, especially considering that, you're so far over the cap, and if you're wanting to acquire assets, via trade, that would be great, just because the Saints historically are a team that drafts really well. So if you can unload some dead money off the cap while acquiring more trade assets, where you do your best building anyway, in a division that's still going to be competitive in the coming years, I think to me, you bite the bullet, maybe unfortunately have to let, guys like Marshawn Lattimore go, trade him for, just get some more picks and get some money off the books. In my opinion, I think even Kamara is, up there for candidates to go in a trade at the deadline, but that's my opinion. Those aren't rumors or anything. Not a good situation down there in the NFC South. And of course, we have the Bryce Young led Panthers at 0-6.
Yeah. What's going on? To me, I look at the one place of solace we can take for the Panthers is, let's be honest, Ryan, DJ Moore on this team would not be the difference in an 0-6 or 1-6 season up to this point. He's not making the difference in a single win. So let's just, if you're a Panthers fan, you hope Bryce Young's still it. You're having a very, very tough first season, but yeah, you can't lose any sleep losing DJ Moore in the deal to get up to that spot and select Young, because this team is just
100%
flat out bad.
Yeah, agreed. Well, Spencer, this was a very fun episode. I hope everybody enjoys the new look, the new tech. We're trying some new stuff. Let us know what you think, but we really want to give you the highest production quality that we can. We love doing this. I've had a lot of fun putting all of this together, and it's just an excuse to make Talking Ball with you even better, Spencer.
And you've done a hell of a job with it, my man.
Thank you for joining me this one. Thank you. I appreciate that. Is there any other thoughts that you want to leave with our Rumbler Nation fans?
That's all I got. Rumbler Nation, show us some love, man. We're doing it big for you. We're pulling out the clips. You should expect to see lots more of great content. We're going to keep on pushing ourselves.
Agreed. Well, all right, everybody. Hope you have a fun rest of your week. See you for more football on Thursday night. And Spencer, thank you for joining me. And I'm going to remotely bid you adieu.
Rumbler Nation.
Bye-bye.